But then there's a whole range of questions that are really important that it doesn't give us an answer. And if we start thinking that it gives us an answer, it could do a lot of harm even, and certainly create a lot of confusion.
I love the way that you said you describe science itself as a civic practice for a couple of reasons. One, science, like any tradition, is an ongoing practice. It's an argumentative practice of experts and practitioners and members of a community who are constantly negotiating with one another about both the values of the practice, what does it mean to be a good scientist, and where that practice points toward truth and authority and those sorts of things. And it's a conversation that's never finished, which is why to name it as a practice in the ongoing sense of the word is, I think, incredibly important. And then to say that it's a civic practice, to say, and one of the values we're committed to is doing this in a framework of a kind of civility that doesn't ignore disagreement and doesn't.
I would say civic also means like engage with society too. It's not merely in our academic enclaves. It's
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so maybe there's double meaning there too, for sure. But even in engaging, you are. This is what Alistair McIntyre would call an argument across differing traditions, right? You are moving from a community of practitioners and then working to translate some of that insight and some of that knowledge to a different community. And hopefully for all of us, that translation is possible, but it also means that you've got to keep working on it because the translation is never fully done.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So making space for differences, that's your language too. Why would we make space for differences for people we just know are wrong or maybe even dangerous? Why would we make space for those differences?
Yeah, I mean, so a couple of things there. One, we're not going to make complete space for all difference. So there's no such thing as a fully pluralistic society or conversation. We're all going to draw lines at some point. We're not going to say, hey, Nazis, come to the table and talk about your views too. So we draw functional lines. But within those lines, and I think actually those are pretty broad lines, within those lines, we might start by knowing that we're fallible thinkers, that we don't always have all of the facts and all of truth.
Or science doesn't give you the whole story even.
For sure. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And especially, on the fact value distinction, science can give you certain insights and descriptions. It can't give you the normative answers to value laden questions. So it can set up really important and really interesting inquiries, but it's not going to answer all of those inquiries.
Yeah, though I'm not entirely sure if we can really cleanly separate facts and values, but I get your point. There's like certain questions that science can really give us traction on. They tend to be really focused and rigorous and concrete. But then there's a whole range of questions that are really important that it doesn't give us an answer. And if we start thinking that it gives us an answer, it could do a lot of harm even, and certainly create a lot of confusion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's a kind of epistemic humility to any professional or expert discipline that would say, the best experts are the ones who know the limits of what they know, and the worst are the ones who think they can talk about anything.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. In my work, I've really just striven to be truthful about what science really is telling us, but also really delimit what it's not telling us. Really make clear where the limits of our knowledge is and what it really demands of us and what it doesn't. And I think that's been in some contexts, it's been a little bit new and fresh for people. And it's actually, I think, what really good scientists do in our academic work. We're just trying to delimit, like, this is what we know from the data, this is what we don't know. And we don't want to overstate it. And just bringing that into how we engage with the public is something that hasn't always happened. And I think that's something we really care about at Peaceful Science.